and it was a weird vibe. And the Jays were playing in the afternoon, and you're tracking that. And anyway, Jays back in action tonight. We got Game 4 of the Oilers and the Stars, and Emily Kaplan is out there. She'll join us here in a moment.
You want my first pitch?
Yes. Give us the pitch here. Give us the pitch of why the core four should return for another dance.
Guys, the one thing that you're forgetting is we need another chance with a healthy Stolars. It hasn't been talked about enough. We had to go through the whole series without our starting goaltender, and it's just been dismissed. We deserve another shot because our number one guy wasn't in the cage for all 7. Let's do it.
Okay.
Hashtag run it back.
It's not going to sell me, but
Noodles, we'll talk about it after we speak with Emily.
Yeah, okay. It's a compelling case. I don't think it's going to land, but it's an interesting first pitch, right?
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Not going to land.
All right, Game 4 tonight. We've got Oilers, we've got Stars, and here's Emily Kaplan of ESPN who's out there. How much fun is this, Emily, watching McDavid and Draisaitl play every night?
Oh, it's such a treat. I take it for granted, right? Like, we live in an era where the hockey is better than ever. Like, the guys are so skilled and so fast. And I just remember Game 1, right? Like, they lost, but they were just buzzing at a different gear. And you just see the motivation. You see how badly they wanted. And it just feels like a privilege just to get the vantage points. And I do, and the access that I do to get to talk to these guys.
Emily, what kind of mood is your colleague Ray Ferraro in these days? Is he happy and bubbly, or what kind of spirits is he in at this particular
This guy.
Yeah.
He's the only one that I know of that got out in the one off day to go fly home to Vancouver. Apparently, Cammie runs a ship. He had to mow the lawn, walk the dog, and got back here. So he was very refreshed this morning. I don't know if he did his own laundry, but he came with clean clothes, and that's always a good sign.
Yeah, we noticed that. We spoke with him yesterday, and he slid that in. Then he was in Vancouver. I think he was actually cleaning off his golf clubs because he said he's closing in on the end of the season. So that was actually why he went home.
Spend a day like golfing with his coworker here in beautiful Edmonton. That's another way to spend the day, but I digress.
That's very true, very true. And you're right, about the McDavid and Draisaitl kind of taking it for granted. And how well they're playing, but they're not alone. Like, Zach Hyman is a guy we're obviously very familiar with here in Toronto, and Toronto guy who played for the Leafs for a long time. The other night, he had 2 goals and 10 hits, like double-digit registered hits in the playoffs for a guy who scored twice, and 2 beauties, like high blocker on a breakaway, and then taps one out of midair on a 2-on-1 to basically turn the lights out from Evander Kane the other night. Watching Nat live, like how physical he is, how he skates, and then he has hands like he did. Pretty special player, and like basically the definition of a playoff player, the way that Zach Hyman's playing right now.
Yeah, I don't have to make any comparisons of, what would it be like if he was in Toronto? We can just focus on him where his feet are now. It's special. He's one of my favorite guys to talk to, too. He's so humble, right? Like, when you ask him about those hits, and it's really remarkable, right? Like, he's lapping the field, more than 100 hits so far in this playoffs to lead the league. He's like, well, most of them were on the forecheck, and he's trying to, humble himself there. But I just think it's so unique, and just to see the buy-in from every other guy on this roster. And I think that that's the standard that Leon and Connor demand, right? Like, we know what it takes. We've been to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You've got to ride this roller coaster. There's going to be lows. You can't dwell there. Like, come on, keep going. But also, you got to play on a high level to keep up with us. And we're going to need some depth production because it can't just be the 2 of us. And I think Hyman is a guy that is bought in as well as anybody. He's just such a delight, again, as a personality, but also just in the way that he plays. It's such a good role model to younger players, too, of how you have to evolve your game and evolve your role to stay relevant and still do this at a high level.
So, Emily, all focus is on Edmonton, but it's such a swing game, either 3-1 or 2-2. What's Dallas saying, and what do they need to do to get back into this series to push it back to Dallas and regain home ice advantage?
Every time we've talked to Pete DeBoer, he keeps the same line, which is, I know we lost the last 2, but I see our team getting better in each of these games as we go along. And I don't know if that's just to spin the narrative or actually what he sees, but we all saw last game, especially in the second period, where they're not going away. Like, they're getting a dominant number of chances, and they look really good. It's just those pucks aren't going in the net, and it's really tough when you're playing such a quick strike and opportunistic team like the Edmonton Oilers are, because, okay, all of a sudden, like, they score one goal and then boom, 2, 3, 4, 5, and, you're off to the races. So, I was talking to Tyler Seguin today a bit, and he's been around forever, and he's like, look, I've been in so many of these situations and so many of these different type of playoff rounds where, we feel like we're playing well and just nothing goes in. They just have to stay the course. I think they feel good about the fact that Jake Ottinger, throughout his career, tends to get better as playoff series go along, because they know that he hasn't been at the top of his game so far. So as long as they mentally stay there, I think they feel that they're right in this. It's just a matter of, okay, well, the other team's pretty good too, and they're continuing to make adjustments, because that's all that Chris Knobloch does, is just adjust and advance.
Emily, what's the deal with Rupe Hintz? Like, does he have a broken leg or foot, or is he going to play tonight? Like, what's the scoop with that guy? He's an important piece for Dallas.
Yeah, it feels like the flashes happened at like the one area where you just can't take it. It was right in the upper foot, lower leg area. I was really surprised when he came out for warm-ups and then he left early. You figure, okay, maybe he's just getting some treatment so he can play in the game. And the fact that he didn't go and suit up kind of shocked me, because, we know these guys are gamers, and, we know what they play through. Rupe Hintz himself has played through a broken foot at one point in his career in the playoffs. I think last game being an afternoon game was definitely helpful for some extra hours, maybe to get that swelling down, to heal a little bit. He practiced yesterday, and honestly, the way he was cutting and turning, like, he looked really good, and it was a lot more than we saw, from him in warm-ups, where he wasn't quite doing that. Didn't skate today, so, maybe why risk it to aggravate it? He's going to go out there for warm-ups again, see how he feels. My gut says he's going to play, but we'll find out.
With Emily Kaplan of ESPN ahead of Game 4 tonight. Oilers Stars out in Edmonton. The story of Stuart Skinner is quite compelling, man. It has been a wild ride for him. He's still a very young player. It feels like he's been in the league for 15 years. The amount of times we've talked about him and the amount of great games he's played, and then poor games, and then he's on a heater, then he gets pulled, and Pickard goes in. And Pickard's going to return, we believe, tonight, and we'll back up. How do you cover the story of Stuart Skinner going into tonight and the rest of this series and possibly the Cup final, considering how well he's playing right now, how well he's played the last 2 years against Dallas, but everything else that we also know about Stuart Skinner?
Yeah, well, isn't it incredible that we're now talking about the Oilers goaltending as a position of strength?
Right.
Like, they're benching a guy who's been undefeated in the playoffs. Like, how many teams have ever done that? I think with Stuart Skinner, he calls it a roller coaster all the time. And so you have to, go with him that it is a roller coaster. And when he got benched so early in that first round, I think that absolutely would have been gutting to most players in this league. But because of what he's been through throughout his career, because of the work that he puts in, like, this is a guy that's seen a sports psychologist since he was a teenager. He's all these books by a stoic. Like, he really has